everybody. This is Doormat Mom. Welcome back to the Doormat Mom No More podcast, where we talk about everything estrangement, family estrangement, and specifically parent-child estrangement. Wow, the response to last week's podcast with Monica Guzman. People have been sending me notes that they thought they took a master class without having to pay for it. And I'm so thrilled for that. We are going to have her on again because she is just a powerhouse in teaching people how to communicate and bolstering skills or even learning skills that they didn't have before. So Monica, can't wait to have you back out again. If you haven't watched that podcast, please, it's the one prior to this one, and download it. You're going to really be impressed. Many people have. So it's been a big week for me and my group here. Obviously, everyone knows that the Wall Street Journal article came out about myself and a number of other parents who are estranged, talking about their experiences, shedding light on the estrangement epidemic overall. And boy, it led to so many people joining the Facebook group. Doormat dads, my Lord, doormat dads are coming out in droves. And I think the reason is where they generally don't ask for help. They're finding that my Facebook meta group, whatever we're going to call it, is a safe haven for them to actually find the support they need. Welcome everybody to the Doormat Mom No More Facebook meta group, or whatever you want to call it. Andy and I have been working overtime to strictly check each person's background before we let you in. So please bear with us because we literally have been working overtime. I'll show you the photo from that. It's pretty cool. Hang on, let me grab it. That's it. And I have to tell you, Elizabeth Bernstein did a great piece. She really did. She got to the brass tacks of it, and I really appreciate her. She also just came out with a piece about the drug abuse and the Rob Reiner incident. So if you haven't read that piece, go back to the Wall Street Journal and read what she wrote there. She's a phenomenal writer, and we do appreciate her. We want to support her. So this article, however, led me to being given a crown, one I hadn't expected. I'm not sure. I think when I look at these types of things, I know that it just comes with the territory. It just comes with being heard. And in this case, it's a little bit humorous. It is. It really is. So let me bring up, I just won the title and I have to share it. It's just too good to be true. Doormat Mom is the worst parent on the whole internet. The whole internet. It's me. I did it. I want it. And the columnist that wrote that piece, well, his name is, I'm going to bring him up here. Let's see if there he is. His name is Drew Magary, or Magary, whatever. He is a columnist for the San Francisco Gate. He's an author, obviously. And he also is a co-founder of Defector. Apparently, the night the lights went out has, I don't know much about the book, but we're definitely putting the light out on the fallacies that have been spun around parents and estrangement. So I can appreciate that. Drew, thank you. Thank you. Thank you not only for this additional promotion. And although there have been a lot of other articles that came out that are pretty laughable, this one just caught me because you know what our dear Drew did? This is what he did. And he proved a point that so many estranged parents are dealing with. He proved that politics are the reasons that, you know, adult children today, adult estranged children, are going estranged, which is something that estranged parents have been saying and shouting about, that politics is now dividing families and it is causing estrangement. It's one of the many reasons, but it's become a biggie. And he drilled down and said that most likely it was politics that caused me to become estranged from my adult child, one of 5, mind you. That conjecture is brutally wrong. And and he said that because I had previously written for a Christian conservative right-wing site that no wonder the estrangement occurred. First off, I am a Christian. I am not going to apologize for that. And in fact, I'm also a converted Jew. I subscribe to both in a way. And I'm not going to apologize for believing in God. Not going to do it. And I'm not going to confirm that that's what caused, you know, our political difference was what caused the rift. Not at all, because it wasn't. But you just did us a darn good favor, Mr. Maggery or Marjorie, whatever it is. You just confirmed something we've been saying. So thank you for the title. I take it, and I'll wear that crown because it means I'm impacting. And as long as I'm impacting and raising awareness, I'm good with that. So I wish you well with your book. And on to more important things, like my next guest. Oh, wait, let me just say something before I get to my next guest, because I keep getting asked this. And I have to say, so many of you are commenting on my clothing. And you're sending me notes asking me, where are you getting your sweaters? Where are you getting? Okay. So here's the thing. I know how hard it is as an older woman. I'm 59. To find clothes that really look good on you. Right? I know how that is. It's really tough. And I can't even believe I'm saying this, but I am going to share it because I'm not getting any money back from these sources, okay? I just happened to found these 2 brands or stores that carry brands that I really love. And they work for me. And I think that's really important. So I'm going to let you in on it. And you can go check out their websites because they're both online. And enjoy what they have to offer too, because it took me a while to find them. So the first one is Pearls and Plaid, and then the other one is Homeward Collective. So those are where I primarily get my clothing. So now you can go there too. Yeah, those companies can thank me. All right. That's it. Now, the important guest of the hour. I love her work. I came across her work, and she's saying some really great things. Her name is Alice Nehme. She's a TikToker. Well, that's where I discovered her. I'm not sure how many other platforms she's on, but she's just, sharing some really phenomenal videos that I think are lending to the exposure around this epidemic. So I wanted to bring her on and talk to her a little bit. She is an author. She's written a book. I'm going to let her explain it. This is her book, 420, A Mother's Fight to Survive. So we're going to ask her a little bit about that. We're going to ask about her background. But we're going to first feature one of her videos, which I found has so much in there that we can talk about. I wanted to make sure that you got a chance to see it. So let me go over to the screen. Getting much better at this kind of stuff. And let me run this clip. Here we go.
I am sick to my stomach. I just got off the phone with a parent who got it so bad from her adult estranged child that she has spent the entire afternoon in bed feeling like a cripple and unable to move, telling me that she wants to end her life. This is a woman in her 70s who doesn't have much life left, and this is not how she should be ending her life. I'm disgusted, and I have a question for everyone out there. Are we really supposed to believe that millions of parents around the world are all abusive, toxic, and irredeemable? Is that what we're supposed to believe? Because that's what the current narrative implies, and it doesn't make sense. Most parents raise their children with love, sacrifice, and the tools that they had at the time, not perfection. And I will repeat myself, not perfection, but intention. And family relationships are very complex. Yet today they're being flattened into labels that leave no room for context, no growth, and no repair. Healing doesn't come from rewriting history to fit a trend. It comes from honesty. It comes from telling the whole story. Therapy, language, was meant to help people heal. But somewhere along the way, it became a weapon. Words like toxic, narcissist, unsafe are now used as verdicts, not invitations to understand. Normal human flaws are being reframed as trauma. Disagreement becomes abuse. Boundaries becomes exile. And healing was never meant to erase people. It was meant to repair relationships where possible. So we have to ask ourselves, is this helping families heal or helping them disappear? And have you noticed something? In most conversations about estrangements, parents don't get a voice. Their silence is treated as guilt. The pain is diminished as manipulation. Online spaces reward one-sided stories. Validation comes instantly, but accountability is absent. But family healing can't happen with only one-sided stories. Silencing parents doesn't protect children. It fractures families permanently. I am sick.
So I asked that same question myself, right? All of the millions, all of the millions coming into my Facebook group or reaching out to me, asking for help, asking for advice. I mean, it's been a whole week of giving advice to the best of my ability. But all of them, collectively bad parents, not caring, not doing their best, not putting their heart into every act in relation to their children growing up. All of that, they were just not good parents. They were miserable. They were not listening. Is that really what you want all of us to believe? It's impossible, beyond being improbable. So we take this, all of the therapy language and all of everything that we're hearing, and we're throwing into, as she said, a skillet, and we're flattening it across the board. We're saying, this is where it is, folks. No. There's so many prongs to this. It's not even funny. There's so many hands in this pot, this financial pot. It's not even funny. So I'm going to bring Alice on. and she's going to share a little bit about her background. She's going to share a little bit about her book, and then we're going to talk about the video. So, hello.
Hello. Wonderful to finally meet you.
Thank you. Same here. Same here. I love your videos. You're doing some good work.
Thank you. You too.
So I think that a lot of people beyond myself are curious as to who you are, what brought you into our lane. Tell us a little bit about your book. Give us who you are and why you find yourself here with us.
So, this book is my third book. I've been advocating for family trauma, drug addiction, abuse since back 2010.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of people are commenting, the young generations, and saying, you're showing up here, you're coming out with your toxic statements against children and whatnot. Guys, I've been doing this since long before TikTok existed. My second book, called A Testimonial of Insanity, circulates in all the rehab centers all over the world, and all of the money goes straight back to rehab. I was married to a drug addict who destroyed my life. And I raised two children alone, working 3 and 4 jobs just to put food on the table. My kids watched me slave and slave and slave. And they lived with me till the ages of 30 and 32, where they both got married and went off. My son kind of went down the wrong road, and I tolerated a lot for many, 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 many years. My daughter is my best friend. My son has cut us off, cut off the entire family and all of his friends. I think it's due to the fact that he had reconnected with his father at about the age 20, where I started to see his behavior change. And he was brainwashed by a lot of things. Thankfully, me versus a lot of other parents out there. I mean, not thankfully that he died, but thankfully I was able to learn the truth, because him having been a drug addict for most of his life, finally admitted himself in 2011 into a rehab center. And part of his therapy, a private therapy in Canada, was to write his confessions. When I learned of his confessions 3 years ago when he died, and my son showed up with the journal in his hand, I was shaking from head to toe, because I knew the truth would be in there. So I was blessed to be able to expose that truth, whereas there's many passages from that journal inside my book. And what that did was that silenced a lot of people, actually everybody, including his entire family, my kids. But my son had already estranged, and now I think he's just in a situation where the ego is not letting him step forward. He doesn't know how to step forward. He doesn't know the tools to use, et cetera, et cetera. And he wrote to me a couple of years ago saying that he went to therapy. He went to therapy alone. And the therapist said that he should cut his family off. So what type of respect do we have for that therapy culture today? I have a lot of friends that are psychologists, psychiatrists, nurse. In fact, on my TikTok, we are a panel of 5 people, published authors, doctors, psychologists, nurses. And that video that you showed, I was shaking when you put it up again, because it's very rare that I'm going to get that angry when I'm speaking. I'm somebody who's very articulate with my words. I'm very clear with messages. And I don't know if I was clear that day, but I literally got off the phone with this woman and shot a video. And I was very, very upset. And I'm still upset. And I'm still talking to her daily, as are so many parents around the world that call me for the same things. And I find myself referring them to us, to the psychologist that's on our panel, running in circles, trying to match people in different time zones. We all live in different parts of the world. My psychologist friend is in the UK, who's presently in Portugal for the winter. So we're trying to get everybody connected and stuff, and it's working. But what I find very interesting is that, and I don't know if this is happening to you, Laura, on your Doormat Mom site on TikTok, is a lot of the kids are attacking me, and what's happening is I'm responding back. I'm responding back, and I'm challenging them, and 99% of them are backing down. And what's happened in the last week, since more of our videos have come out, including yours, and I see that my followers also follow you. And I thank you for all the work that you're doing, because the louder we speak, the bigger we'll get, and the more we'll be able to crush these smear campaigns that are going on. As fast as they got built, we can build ourselves as well. And I believe that.
Absolutely.
I really do. And what's happening is my followers are attacking back these people that are sending me messages, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not going to even answer today. And I find that I don't find it comical, but I find it interesting that that they're doing it now, kind of defending me, which makes me feel like I'm even more surrounded with people I don't even know. And ironically so, a lot of them are young adults who have said that they can't even imagine throwing away their parents or disrespecting them in any way.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's in my particular case, I do believe that my son went through a lot of trauma with his father. It was really hard for us. It was a very, very high profile divorce, very big. Our divorce case took 4 days in court after 10 years of in and out of court. It was really heavy and really big. And my kids got dragged through that. As much as I tried to hide them from everything that was going on, he was showing up at our door. The police was showing up. There was guns involved. It was a horror story.
Yeah.
So when these kids come after us and they start judging, please, what I do is I say, you know what? Take a moment. I'll even buy the damn book and send it to you, but take a moment and read the story before you judge people.
Let me stop you there for a second. Firstly, that's great, because I see the community is rallying around you, and that's wonderful. And you know, the non-existence of that community before, even honestly a year and a little over a year ago, was real. Now there is a community. Yes, I've had that same experience, but yes, there are some and many incredibly young people out there that are standing up to those who are accusatory and saying, you know, that this is all, you know, you know, there's a one woman, she's got an incredible following. She's about 400,000 people. That's dropped, and she's lost it because she's coming out in defense of parents. Her name is Hollywood, and she's an incredible voice, standing up. You know, but there is going to be an element of young people in a group that are committed to misunderstanding, and that's where I believe makes up the majority of those that are do the sniping and do the griping and do on, so I've taken the position in my own account that sometimes I will answer people. Most of the time I won't, only because a lot of the comments are just ludicrous, and you're arguing with people who are committed to misunderstanding you. But there is a group out there, and usually come to me behind the scenes, like the back feed or whatever. It's like, can you help me understand something? Is that, and I love that. You know, I love that. Because that's how things change, right? That's how misunderstandings get solved. That's how maybe their parent did something that they don't understand. And so they're asking for my wisdom to then go back to the parents. So they're fighting for that relationship. And I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
And so I'm really glad that that's, your experience a bit of that too. You talk about this 70-year-old woman who contacted you, and they say that 10 million people, 25% or 27% of families are coping with estrangement in this country. We know it's global. It's a global issue in this country. I think it's higher. I think it's higher. I think we're inaccurate because I don't think people answer those questions because they've been so groomed to hide.
To hide, they're not voicing.
And I think it's very real what you're saying. Here's a 70-year-old woman who put her life, gave her life to her children, and now sits there dealing with the very reality that which she dedicated her life to is just being, tossing her out, what it feels like tossing her out like trash.
Right.
And it is the most difficult, painful feeling for a parent to have to endure. You can't even describe it until you feel it. It's like splitting a parent in half. Like it's literally like splitting them from the middle and pulling them an opposite end, and taking their heart and just crushing it. And it's not looked on by the estranged adult kids seemingly as anything. They go on with their lives. They might deal with some pain, but if they're truly adult kids that weren't neglected or abused and just dealt with imperfect parenting with the best of all intentions, they easily go on and start their families and start their lives and don't look back. And in many cases, and whereas the parent does not, because their life, there goes my life by Kenny Chesney, right? That old song, there goes my life.
Yeah.
There goes my future, everything. That's what's happening to them. The child isn't just leaving, your life is leaving. And that's why so many people, so many strange parents end up like a pile of rubble on the floor, and don't know who to turn to, don't know how to, which is why this movement has been so important, right?
Yeah.
70 years old. She's got how many years left?
She's in her 70s. I don't want to divulge the exact date because I don't want anybody who's watching to identify her in any way. She's really on her last thread. So we've gotten her help. She is seeing someone now, therapist. It's bad. And you know what? It's bad and it's not justifiable because a week ago she was still seeing the grandchildren. So it's been that boomerang yo-yo back and forth. And you said this, and now you're cut off. And what they don't realize is they're harming us beyond even imagination, especially the boys who don't understand what it is to carry a child, to give birth to a child, to nurse a child. There's that whole element that they've never experienced. And there is a DNA biological connection between a mother and child, which I think you know, which stays inside your body for decades. And that's what gives us that maternal instinct, no different than a lion in the wild.
Right.
And they just don't get it. They just don't get it. And therapy culture should be there to heal families. And you know what? It's going to take us to put some water in our wine as well. And the kids need to understand the generational differences and the difference is how we were raised versus how they were raised. We gave them everything we didn't have. I was constantly overcompensating with my youngest, um, so that he could feel what he was missing as a boy without a dad around. And this was difficult for me. I was constantly bailing him out of situations. He was rebellious, self-destructive, you name it, you name it. And then when people say to you, well, you shouldn't have done so much. Well, what do you want me to do? I'm a mother.
Right. But you know what they would say, honestly, then you get the other side, is that if you just left him in the street,
Yeah, then you're
you know,
used.
then you're gonna get the other side. Well, why didn't you help him more? I mean, look at
Yeah.
Ron Reiner, for God's sake. I mean,
Yes.
the man did everything he could possibly do,
Yeah.
to help his son. But the one thing you can't do for a child is to make the decision to right yourself, to make the decision to commit to your own life. It's easy to blame the parent because, I mean, the parent, it is, normally, although not anymore, in prior history, parents were much more, what's the word? I mean, the involvement of parents, the influence of parents was much greater and stood, in the child's life a lot longer than it is today. Right. True. So they say from 0 to 7 is right today where the parent has the most influence, and after 7 it's peers and it's the environment they live in, especially after 15 it's peers and the environment they live in. And so and that's reality, that's been documented, that's been proven. So to blame the parent for dropping the ball and causing their kid to have drug issues at a later date, the parent wasn't perfect. No parent is perfect. We're not designed to be perfect. And there's benefits to that too. But I think that it really comes down to you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't as a parent today. And someone's always going to have their opinion. And so you're just trying to do the best you can. And while loving them all the way through. And that's where it comes in. Like at some point, as an estranged adult child, or a child that's hurting, or a child that has issues, they have to adopt their own life for themselves. You can't farm out your life and claim victim because the parent hasn't fixed it yet. Excuse me, I mean, that's not that we cannot fix your life. And I think that, a therapy culture today, and let me caveat, I say this every program and I'm going to say it again. There are a lot of great therapists out there. There are. The face of Peter Anderson, who recently started doing TikToks. Everybody, and I have him on my show in January. He's a great therapist.
We just had him on our live podcast with Charlie Brown Girl. We just did that.
Yeah, I know. I showed up for a minute there. But he's a great therapist, and he promotes the cure. He doesn't want you in his office elongated for the rest of your life. He wants to work on the thing. Let's cure it. Let's move you on.
Yeah,
that's what parents, what a good therapist should. That's what they should be. The stance they're supposed to be adopting. It's not happening because the money train doesn't make money that way. And so, yeah, and when you have substance abuse, I think there's more substance abuse, mental health problems, and the likes that are contributing to the estrangement epidemic than we realize. And I think that at the end of the day, therapists are not helping that. I really think we've seen the mental health decline in this country with our youth. We've seen it. We've seen it come out in bullying. We've seen it come out. It's turn on the news. You see it, right? Yeah. So, and I think it's impacting the estrangement epidemic at a higher rate than we are even discussing or recognizing. And I think that's something we really need to get on, right?
We didn't have social media influencing us, right? Growing up, our generation.
Right.
These kids, if there was no TikTok and no big ass mouths that are out there creating destructive videos, they never would have even known about this.
Oh, yeah.
They
Oh,
never
yeah.
would have even thought to do this. They would have just, oh, my mom's strict. Oh, okay. And then they move on. But they're feeling this support system from complete strangers. Did these people feed you? Did these people pick you up when you were bleeding and you fell as a kid and
Oh, come
stayed
on.
up with you?
Oh, come on.
Like
Wait, come on.
these
That isn't
people.
that the minimum? You're supposed to, isn't that the minimum? Like, did we feed you? I mean,
Wow.
it's the minimum? Isn't that the minimum? Don't you owe me that? And you have
Yeah.
food, shelter, clothing, college educations, medical school tuitions,
You know what?
continued financial. Don't we owe them that? Isn't
No.
that
And the answer is no.
real?
We owed them safety, providing food, doing our best to raise them, to send them out into the world. How many parents, my ex-husband walked out on a family for drugs, prostitution that he was hiring for years and years and years since before I even met him. All of this stuff that came out that I've put in my book. And no, we don't owe them. We are responsible to raise them to be good humans. And I think we all did that. But they somehow got influence from complete strangers and turned against us. My son, before he became this new person that was influenced, used to tell me things like, I'm not going anywhere till you're okay. He used to yell at his sister and say, get a second job so we can help mom more. That was back in the day. My kids are in their 30s now, and I don't need help anymore. But back in the day, this is all the things he used to do. I remember he was such a young boy, and my dishwasher had broken. And I thought, oh God, how am I going to afford to buy a dishwasher? And he heard me saying this to the repairman. He ran upstairs, I think he was 11 at the time, brought down his piggy bank and said, Mom, here, let me buy the dishwasher. And I looked at him and I went, no, son, please take your piggy bank back upstairs. I'm not going to get very far with the piggy bank, but he was always, always a very kind and generous boy, quiet. And I can see that he was suffering with a lot of trauma. We went to therapy. We did all of that. Did I overcompensate? Yes. Would I do it the same way again? Yes. I love my children. They're my life. I'm going
Well,
to give them whatever I can.
what Dr. Salerno, Peter Salerno, who I love, he points out that, you can have two different children and give them the same thing, treat them the same way, and one will come out appreciating, and
True.
the other will come out expectant and a victim.
True.
And so there's so much more underneath that than just there's a lot to that. There's personality, there's mental health issues, there what have you, right? But at the type of story you described is so heartwarming, but it's also tragic in the sense that here you had this beautiful, kind, wonderful, empathetic, sympathetic boy who you probably later on looked into his eyes and couldn't even recognize him.
Yeah.
And that for a parent to look at your child, look your child in the eyes, hear the words coming out of their mouths, and say, I honestly don't even know who this human being is, after you've had experience with growing up where they're kind and they're loving and they're giving and they're the flourishing, and then you let them go into the world and you let them run around in schools and you let them connect on social media, which is their environment now is global, and then you let them to discover themselves in the sense of finding their independence, but their independence is faced with all these different messaging that's definitely not you know definitely not reinforcing family values, right?
Yeah.
And so, and then you find you look at that person, and if it's the right concoction with the right mind, and and they can become the person you never thought they would be. It's like you don't recognize them. So that you're grieving because on one hand you're grieving the loss of the person you knew,
Who's still alive.
right, and then you're grieving the loss of the understanding of you're grieving the loss of that that child, right? You're grieving the loss of that child that you knew, that you raised, right? So it's hard. It's truly hard for parents, and and they just don't get it. And then you get people like these therapists. I'm going to call her out on it. This sit with wit saying, "Well, I've asked everybody. I've
What's her
asked
name?
everybody." Sit with wit. She's a therapist. I've asked
Mm.
her. She doesn't even treat anymore. She's making so much bank on product, apparently, and that's my understanding. And she puts a video out. I have no idea. I cannot find any child that was told by a therapist that you need to estrange from your parent as a solution. I can't find anybody, nobody. I
She
tried
is.
the high and low. I'm like, well, all you need to do is go on TikTok, download the myriad of creators in the estrangement community, and ask them. Because you're going to find out of 10, probably one, at least. So that's what's happening out there. That's what we're up against.
These kids are taking the easy way out, as you know. It's just easier to cut off than to deal with their self-reflection in any way. And you know what? They got to be very careful when they use the words trauma and abuse and all of that, because real trauma and abuse is nowhere near what the hell we did. When I used to punish my kids, put them in their room, spank their butt when they were little, that's not abuse, for God's sakes. Okay, today in today's society, we're trying to get rid of all of that. Let's go back. Let's go back when people used to get hung and their heads cut off. And then in our days, the bad kids in school used to go into the principal's office and get the strap back in the late 60s. You and I are 59. We're born in 66. Me, September. I don't know what month you are.
August.
End or beginning?
Beginning first.
Leo. I'm a Virgo. So, and that's not to excuse. That's not to excuse anything. I'm not here to excuse things, but we did what we learned with only good intention. And abuse is, I got a lady whose husband is raping the two young girls, beating her up. I just got pictures of her trying to help her, trying to find legal assistance in the area that she lives. I don't want to say which country. She sent me photos. She's bruised in the face. These kids are like this all the time. Guys, please, let's differentiate between what abuse is, what narcissism is,
Right.
what trauma is. Guys, this is not trauma. These are normal family conflicts. And we were raised with moral obligations to sometimes we just don't answer back to our parents. And sometimes we can sit down kindly without posing blame before you start your conversation. Because what these kids are looking for is they're looking for us to accept blame so that they can feel good. No, this is not about blame. This is about a united front using moral obligations from a place of love to have an adult conversation. We are now all adults. You're not a kid anymore. let's do this in a different way. And like I said, we need to take responsibility as parents because we see our children, we grow, we grow with them as they're our kids. But at some point, it's hard to disconnect and say, okay, they're now adults. I kind of have to look at this a little bit differently. But that doesn't take away the fact that they need to still respect elders, especially coming from Christian homes or other religious backgrounds where people have God in the home, etc. Me too. I'm a Christian and I'm not ashamed. And I believe in God and I'm not ashamed. But today, it's not only about that. It's also about morals and values and what's right in the world and kindness. I want to bring something up, which you know this. There is so much war in the world. I have family in the Middle East who are suffering, who flew over here last year, who heard bombs in their next door neighbors' houses. You know, we are not nowhere near living what many of these countries are living. And we are turning this into some massive world problem. Are you kidding me? How many military children are rushing home and take their mothers in their arms? I was watching videos where they come in and they're surprising their mothers and the mothers are freaking out. These are men in their 30s or 20s or whatnot. You think they have time to go on TikTok and listen to this nonsense that's going on? They just can't wait to leave the war grounds that they're on and get home to their families. Guys, we need to come back to earth here.
We do need to come back to Earth. And the reality is here is a lot of this, what this is happening, in countries that are first world countries, countries that are wealthier countries, countries that have done well for themselves, countries that have the space to actually call something like something that should never be called there are countries that have done so well that these young people have no idea what pain, like real pain, like that they gone a day without food, gone a day without a safe place to sleep, gone a day wondering if you're going to wake up in the morning because you're huddled in a cave or something somewhere. That's the problem. Yeah. These young people are complaining about their lives and claiming victimhood when there are so many other people that would die to have the life that they're living, and they have the audacity to go on and say, "Oh, I've been abused, and they get supported. They get supported like that. No, you were not abused a day in your life. It's almost as if you have to. They're just so trapped in this bubble, and they're being encouraged to live there. And it's just mind-blowing and if you say that, then the powers that be that want to keep them in the bubble come out. Well, that's not right. You shouldn't have to live to that degree, to that level in order to feel abused. Well, there's got to be a standard. There's got to be a solid definition. The standard can't always raise and fall. The standard can't always, the definition can't always be changed. All right, we have to have a standards to live by and to work with. And when every time the standard is being like dropped and dropped and dropped, right? What does it do to the other standard? What the people it's gotten so out of hand. It's gotten so out of hand.
They have nothing else to complain about. These activists that are, what the hell else do they have to complain about? They had to invent this epidemic, which makes no sense, and then tell us that we're not accountable. Accountable for what exactly? What are they going to do down the road? What is the next generation going to label the parents? Serial killers? What's going to come out of their mouths?
Okay. So you know what? Let's digress here. Okay, the next generation. The next generation. Well, they're going to be perfect. Okay, they're going to be perfect because this generation has the answers. They know what they're doing. They know how to handle it. They've got it down, and they're going to raise these kids that are super beings. All right, and they're gonna, and that, and it, they're gonna cross that line. They're gonna be super beings. I can't wait to see it because you know what? They really believe this, and it is flooring when I hear this. They've got it down. Or it was us. We were damaged. It was the boomers. It was the baby boomers. No one listened. Do you realize that? Do you realize that your and my parent never listened to us? They beat us every day. They had no place where, they made us drink out of the hose because they simply didn't want us around. No, the way they've spun all of that, it looks like our parents and their parents were completely horrible individuals. I remember my parent and my mother probably sitting down with me and having conversation when I was sad or struggling or what have you, and saying, you know what, maybe, let's hear some advice. I don't remember these beings as being like so evil. The evil beings that brought us to this point, and that were the most evil. But they have fixed it. So be prepared for the super race. And then when the epidemic is 20 times worse, yeah, we're going to get the last laugh. But do we really want that last laugh? I mean, isn't that why we're fighting here, to wake these people up?
So I'm just writing my notes because I don't want to forget my thoughts. So the generation that we have given birth to and raised, what they've done is, there's such an important part that always comes to my mind that we had growing up. I remember I was one of those kids who used to sit down when my grandparents spoke and listen to history and traditions. And I used to say, wow, it was so different back then. And what did I do hearing this? I learned something. And I was able to take that history and bring it into my life and keep certain morals and values, but in modern life.
Right.
This is what every generation should learn from the one before, is maintaining those moral values from our past generations, grandparents, great grandparents. I had great grandparents and grandparents for a long time. My children had great grandparents because I got married very young. The other note I wanted to, they're not going to be laughing at us, because I have declared, and I think you too, and all of the voices that are coming out today, these smear campaigns will not be sustainable. And I will not stop, and I know you won't, until they are buried.
100%.
They cannot sustain themselves. These kids are not going to go through life alone and think they're going to make it. They're not. It's about tribes. It's about villages. I raised my children in a village. I have a huge family, loving family. We grew up with nothing but support and love. Nothing but. I
Right.
suffered in my own life, and I didn't impose too much of it onto my family because not everyone has the means. And a lot of stuff I was embarrassed about.
Right.
I didn't want my family to know what my husband had done. I grew up in a very old school traditional home.
Right.
Where I wasn't allowed to wear makeup. I wasn't even allowed to shave at the age of 12. My father didn't let us out anywhere. Super strict, super protective. So do you think I was able to go to my father in those days and say, my husband is, like, I couldn't. It was shame to talk about these things. So I swallowed and swallowed and swallowed and swallowed till I couldn't anymore. When I found out 3 years ago what he had done, and I'm going to say this on national video, I almost killed myself. And who saved me? My dog. Because I got into a headspace that I didn't know what I was doing anymore. It had been over a month of not sleeping, of nightmares. I'm human. And I'm one of the strongest people, Laura, you will ever meet. And
Oh,
it
I
still
believe it.
took me down, and it still took me down. I'm nowhere near that anymore. I'm okay. I've healed. I've gotten through this. And what's important is to take our pain and turn it into purpose. And I've been doing this for close to 20 years with my books, with addiction houses, rehab centers. Um, I've spoken everywhere, mothers' shelters. I've been doing this for a long time. So the people out there who are criticizing moms like us, don't even go there. This is not my first rodeo. I didn't show up on TikTok because I want to be some famous, I don't know what today. I did this because I launched a book last year on a very serious issue in the world. And I started getting tons and tons of messages through Amazon and different things and contacting me through my book, through the publishing house, saying, please, can you help? Please, can you help? So I said, okay, I think I got to go on one of these portals, which I suck at technology. And I opened this TikTok thing beginning of October, and I just hit over 6,000 followers this morning. And I'm doing my best, and I suck at this live. I haven't even done a live yet. I kind of let Charlie do that for us because I have to figure all this out. So I need to sit down with someone when I have a moment and learn all of this stuff. But I am a writer, I'm a speaker, and I can do that. If someone else can handle the tech part, I'm okay. But this is it. So women out there, please come forward. You want to hide behind an icon, you don't want to show your face. Absolutely, you want to protect yourselves, but please come forward for support. We are here as a community. I've launched a campaign called Return to Your Roots. I am not against the children. I am against what society's doing to them. We love our kids. We want them to come back and raise awareness in their own homes and stop these generational traumas.
Right.
This is not about going after the kids at all, at all, at all. And I want everyone to understand that. This is
Right.
about unity and bringing peace, moral values back, and bringing families back together where they belong, and everyone putting a bit of water in their wine and moving forward. We're all adults. There's no need for this.
Right. I agree. I agree. And so we keep marching forward together, right? Agreed. All right. So amazing. Thank you for doing what you're doing.
Thank you too. My pleasure. So honored to meet you. I thank you.
No, oh my gosh. You know what? Thank you. But I'm honored to meet every one of the people that I bring on because we're all doing this together. And I really see it that way. And we're all bringing our own little, spice and throwing it into the pot. And that's what needs to happen. So continue throwing that spice in the pot.
Thank you.
And I'll make sure you get all the links and everything that you need. And and I'll have you back on again. I would love to do that. And
Thank you.
yeah, I'm sure Charlie Brown Girl could help you with the going live. She's a master at it now.
She's good with that. I only just yesterday figured out how my camera and microphone worked because I bought a new iPhone. My other one had not enough capacity with all the videos I've been doing. It kind of died itself. It's been 3 years. So I went for the big 17 with 2 terabytes.
You'll use it. You'll use it.
Space. I'll use it for sure. Sure.
All right. I'm going to let you go. Thank you
Thank
again.
you, hon. Happy holidays. God bless.
Holidays. All righty. Take care.
Thank you.
Well, she's a joy. She's a smart lady. And yeah, there's quite a story. I marvel at the various stories I hear. So next week, I think this is our last video before the end of the year, and lots of exciting things coming up already planned in the new year. I wanted to share with you once again the book Doormat Mom No More. It is available on Amazon. All right. Let me just say something. If you read the book, please leave a review. Yeah, it really does help. And although my current situation is tons of trolls have infiltrated Amazon to kill the book, don't let that dissuade you from picking it up. It is a very good book, and I think you'll find a lot of great advice, but also some incredible stories in there too. So that's it. That's where we're at. I'm the, I don't know what to say. Being the worst parent on the internet is really just, yeah. Next time, maybe I'll show up with a crown. Who knows? No. In any event, please have wonderful holidays. Have a safe new year. And, be grateful for, everything we've accomplished this year together as an estranged parent community. And be grateful for the lives you have, because every moment that we live is an opportunity to help change and make a difference and find our own joy. And it's great being with you in 2025, and I look forward to being with you in 2026.